Well, it's been a very quiet weekend, and we've gone about our daily business, trying to ignore and, let's just say, let a few things run through our mind. Not just the abuse that's been happening on here, but I mean, I'll be honest with you, whether you believe me or not, it plays very little part in my life. The majority of things that have run through my mind over the weekend have been the state of the country. To be honest, it's quite concerning. But as we talk about, as I say, I'll start with the abuse. It's the only fear I have with that abuse, and I mean it, is that the threats were so nasty, shall we say, that some of my enemies, and there are more than a handful, may well have thought that I'd thought that those, threats had come from them. And that could have led them to believe that maybe I would take revenge, despite the fact that I've always said, you don't take revenge at 61. You don't, life has become too important at that age. The very breath you breathe and the air you breathe in the beautiful place I live now doesn't. But if you know what I'm saying, some foolish thinking people from some of the groups of my enemies do tend to, and have tended to in the past, put two and two together and come up with 8. Because from the housing associations to people a little bit closer, they have let their imaginations run wild. And that usually comes from people with very little experience in life, in more than one depth of field, shall we say. Anyway, dropping the clowns. Yeah, concern without doubt regarding this appalling situation this country's in. We've got May there now shouting her mouth off. I want the people to back me now. Because it was a democratic decision made to leave the EU. And we need the backing of the people to carry it through. Why? Give me one reason why you would ever back someone like May, like Cameron, like Osborne, like Smith. I can go through the whole Conservative Party if you want. But why would you back people who had done nothing other than lie all through their term? And that's something that even they themselves admit to. It's been one lie after another. It has, without doubt, been a destruction of the welfare state, and that includes the NHS. And they're trying to get their hands on for the sponsors whatever they can. But it isn't just that concerns me. It's the appalling way the nation's going on itself. The way it's so divided, so split, so ignorant in many cases. The way it's, so it's difficult to explain, really, the vast differences of opinions that I get personally from people I know personally. And it's a very, very sad state of affairs. Most of these comments or opinions they've come to, in the cases of people I see, are based on the shit they read, the shit media, the shit that they've fucking seen on the box in the corner. And I'm not going to say my information or my source is any better. Just think, when you've been through this shit like I've had and all that, you know, you look through a different fucking pair of binoculars at it. I mean, I know of a few, and that includes some relatives, and a lot of friends that are short of a good dose of eviction, short of a good dose of poverty, short of a good dose of leaving 90% of your fucking gear behind at 55, and see how their opinions would change. But getting away from that, it's just the whole fucking show, isn't it? When there was an article yesterday I read, and social media's become a disaster, it's a joke, it's fucked. You know, they've realised that there's more support for the left on there than there is for the right, although Robinson and his crew have a fair amount. And they've decided to dismantle it, or else just fucking fill it full of fucking adverts and shite. But on an article I read in a Yorkshire newspaper, I think it was the Yorkshire Evening Post, this horrendous fucking attack on people smoking weed. You know, how to spot someone smoking weed. Are your neighbours smoking weed? Yeah, that terrible, is that terrible pungent smell having an effect on your life? And all this. You know, there are people you can contact. I mean, that type of behaviour is on a par, as I've said, with 30s, 40s Deutschland. I'm afraid we are at each other's throats. We are out to dismember each other any way, shape or form. I got one clown yesterday, and you know that some people, you know, I know these people are very comfortable. They've worked all their life, and they're very comfortable. I don't think they're finding it easy to retire. But one posted a picture of a tree. It says, "This is the money tree. Share it, and if you share it, money will come to you." I just think, fucking hell, what am I living in amongst? Why have the people of this country lost so much respect for each other? And as, you know, I return to, you know, the kids on here who I believe are running the abuse and all that, and I wondered to myself, you know, there are a lot of things I've had to say over the past, you know, years and such. I've been relating to kids and to help them in the future. And it does appear an awful lot of them live in a totally deluded, you know, virtual world. And I think to myself, what is the fucking point? My opinion isn't going to change or help them, you know? Should I really give a fuck about them? You know, I mean, I've done my parenting. I very much doubt whether my son's going to end up living in the UK. You never know. But put it this way, he'll be looking through, you know, a different coloured lens, if he does, just down to personal experience. But again, like I say, there is a vast, vast gap in generations in this country, whether it be social media or technology, has put a lot of people into a position where, well, they don't really understand each other. And I just wonder whether it's worthwhile, should I say, to having anything else to say. I mean, I just think it's a time to let things roll. I'm not sure the likes of us have any power, or, let's say, well, I don't think this country has the heart left in it. I think it's always lacked political views, even compared to the differences between Wales and Scotland. England, it's always been a pretty ignorant nation. But when you look at the French on the streets yesterday and calling for change and saying that they can't afford to eat, and you see our lot blaming it all on people who come from other countries, blaming it on X, Y, or Z, blaming it on fucking people out of work, blaming it on the sick, the disabled. I see so many conflicting comments. I see so many people who, you know, are against one thing and yet for another thing. And I think, well, really, those two things are connected. And you're just trying to show a little bit of compassion in one sense, where 2 minutes later, you comment on a fucking post which is completely, it's completely at loggerheads with the ones you fucking liked 2 minutes before. I do think it's a very precarious time in this country. I really do. I'm not sure which way it's going to go. And I know people like Paul Duffy, who was on the other night, saying how he, had been put through the mill again, and he was getting these threatening letters, even though he'd already replied. And I feel sorry for you, mate, and I'm expecting that kind of shit to happen any moment, to be honest. But amongst all the wonderful people I've met on here over the years, there's still a massive distrust amongst a load of them as to knowing who they really are. The social media has given us all what can only be described as a feeble and weak sense of security, where we're actually, we're believing in pie in the sky, aren't we? And we're actually trying to, associate our opinions with virtual fucking friends. And I think, was it Soviet said something about these connected fucking video game fucking characters that are able to make comments and such as that. Well, all I can say is get out there on the streets and have a go at it, because I've been there and I've seen it and I've done it. Yeah, and whether I'm around or not in the future is I'll always keep popping in. Yeah, but to make excuses to some of the vermin that visit this place, and in that sense, they're detrimental towards the kind of support and help we do give each other, or try to, then yeah, all the best for the future anyway.